Hello friends, and welcome back to the Mothership. Today we're going to be smoking up some game birds, and specifically, we are smoking down some fantastic quail. Sound good? Let's get started. Okay, what we have here are 4 little quails. Now these are farm raised, they are not wild hunted ones, but they should be about the same. They'll probably have a bit more fat than wild ones, so take that into consideration if you were doing wild game. Now these little suckers, just like all poultry, I did a wet brine. Now my ratio of wet brine is going to be a tablespoon of salt, kosher salt that is, to a cup of water. I threw them in there, completely submerged them overnight, about 24 hours. You could go 48 if you want, but 24 hours is what I did. And then completely rinse them off and pat them dry. Now if you're interested in buying these, it's worth knowing there is not a lot of meat on these, as you can tell. You basically just have the breast, which is this section right here, and then you have some more meat obviously around the bird. If you're cooking for a family, this is probably good for 2 people, so think of that accordingly. Now the first thing that I want to do is get a rub on these suckers. I'm going to go today with my Abduction multi-purpose rub. I'll have the instructions below. If you decide to go this route, the instructions that I have salt in it. Make sure that you omit the salt if you go with the wet brine first, which I really do recommend. Now obviously before you go ahead and rub them like I just did, you want to go over them and make sure that there is no feathers. Sometimes you get some feathers still on them, especially wild birds. But even with the factory stuff, sometimes you get some hairs on there, or just the base of the feathers, as it were. Now these things are so small they usually don't give you a gizzard pat. I don't know if they would ever give you one because it would be tiny, but just check in the hole and make sure there's nothing in there. That is what she said. But these are looking good to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my smoker running, and we're going to run it pretty low. I'm going to go about 225. There is not a lot of meat on here, so you want to get as much smoke as you can, but you want to do it nice and slowly, and you want to make sure you don't overcook them. So just like all poultry, you know, we have a goal here of at least 160. That's when it's done. But since we're going to do it low and slow, we'll probably go for about 150. As long as it stays in that range for a couple minutes, you are good to go. So I'm gonna get my smoker up and running. We'll go outside and toss them on and see how they work. All right, here's our setup, guys. Top shelf like usual. I have them with breast side up so the bone is facing the heat. I think that'll probably keep them the most protected. And I'm just gonna let them run like this, like I said, until I get to the internal temperature I'm looking for. It is super, super hot today, so I'm having trouble keeping my smoker lower temp. Right now we're at about 230, which is about where I want it to be. But we're just gonna let it run. I don't expect this to take longer than 45 minutes to an hour, to be honest. Now I will be honest, we are about an hour and a half in, and these are now done. So about double what I thought they're going to be. But yeah, they're probing around 160 degrees. Probably could have pulled them off slightly earlier. Just like I said, you can pull stuff off at 155, just how long it's in that temperature versus, you know, max temperature. I did flip them over because they were starting to get a little dark on one side, but these are looking good. Let's get them inside, guys. Let's see how we did. Now quail, guys, can be a tough one to cook. Honestly, there's so little meat on each bird that it's very easy to overcook. It's very easy to dry them out and just to make them not that appetizing. But if you've had quail before, you know what I'm talking about. It's a really, really good meat. I love pheasant, I love quail. I love most game birds, to be honest. Duck is a fantastic food, but these are really, really good. Like I said, these are farm raised, so they're gonna be a little fattier than the ones you're gonna get if they're natural. But I'm really excited. These took longer than I thought they're gonna be. I expected about an hour, and we did about an hour and a half. I pulled them off around 160, 165 degrees. Now when you're cooking these suckers, you're really looking mostly at the breast meat. That's where you're gonna get the most amount of your meat. You do get a bit on the legs. You don't really get anything on the wings, if I'm being completely honest. You can pretty much just pull those off if you really want to, which is what I usually do. And then sometimes when you pull them off, you get a decent amount of meat. But the proof is in the pudding here, guys. We did a multi-purpose barbecue rub. If you want to dip them in ranch or anything like that, that works pretty good too. But we're just gonna see how we did right here. You can't beat that. Honestly, quail has such a good flavor. It's definitely gamier than like chicken. It's got a really distinct flavor to it, and it's really, really good. The wet brine that I did is perfect, has the right amount of salt to it. 24 hours, guys, is great. You can go to 48. You'll be a little saltier, but 24 is what I usually do. And then this multi-purpose rub adds a little bit of sweetness. It adds some spice. It's really, really good flavor. And all in all, this is a great meal. I did about 4 of these just for the 2 of us. If you're doing for a larger group, you're gonna want to get a whole bunch more. But if you guys are coming from hunting camp, you're gonna have a whole bunch of them, and you should follow this. Honestly, the smoker adds a really, really good complex flavor to what is a really, really good meat. Now I am super excited to eat these. We're gonna roast up some potatoes and some broccoli and have a nice traditional meal out of it. If you guys decide to give this one a try, let me know down below. What is your favorite type of game bird? Do you like quail, pheasant, or what's your favorite type of game in general? You know I cook a lot of venison on this channel, but I do love all the other fun things you can get out of nature. We are absolutely gonna enjoy this one, but most importantly, you guys need to cook something absolutely fantastic, and I'll catch you on the next UFO barbecue. Bye-bye.